Welcome back, everybody. We're talking basketball. We're doing a little bit different this time. The All-Star break, just how we had the All-Star game. Team LeBron won again, I believe, for the fourth consecutive year. We're going to talk about kind of teams that are in the top upper part of the league that might drop, and teams that are on the bottom that might rise. Also, by the way, the Ducks scored again, so it's fucking 5-3. So, god damn it. But Alex, take it away.
Yeah, so I decided to change it up because, the NBA is on pretty much like a week-long break, except for, 20 guys. So we're changing up a little bit, but some news and notes. So, Team LeBron did win, beat Team Durant. Sabonis won the skills challenge. Anthony Simons from the Trailblazers won the dunk contest. And Steph Curry won the three-point contest. It feels a little unfair to have him in it, but yeah,
Upset.
the greatest three-point shooter of all time won the three-point contest. What a surprise! And then another big thing happened over this little break. So Blake Griffin, formerly of the Clippers and of the Detroit Pistons, was bought out, and then now he is signed with the Brooklyn Nets. So that will be interesting to see how that goes. So they now have 4 All-Stars on that team. They haven't played together much. Not All-Stars this year, former All-Stars.
Yeah, Blake Griffin's washed.
We'll see what happens. But they don't really need him to be Blake Griffin. They just need him to play some defense. Jake Griffin, because their defense is trash. Absolute garbage. But, hey, if they score 150, there you go. That'll be interesting. Keep an eye on that. But, because there's less kind of like day-to-day, kind of things to go over in the NBA with the All-Star break, and now that the All-Star break's over and we're moving on to the second half of the season, I thought it's time to kind of look at some surprise teams and some teams that are maybe struggling that we think can kind of rise up in the rankings. So the boys all pick some teams. We're going to go through them one at a time. James, so you had the Warriors and the Heat. I'm going to let you pick which one you want to talk about first, if you want to go negative or positive. And then, boys, if you think James says something stupid, feel free to interrupt him and tell him so.
Oh, yeah.
I love this. I love arguing. We're going to go positive first. So I'm going to take the Warriors and argue why they make the top 6 when they're currently the number 8 seed. So this entire year, from the get-go, since Traden had his little rants about how the Warriors were going to be terrible this year, I'd be like, yeah, I think the Warriors are going to make it. And I've been the biggest Warriors fan, apologist, ever since that point, and I'm sticking to it. Looking at their roster, they don't look like they have a good team. They got Steph. That's it. But the way that system works makes people who aren't that good shine. It's very much a game based off team chemistry and ball movement and unselfishness and knowing like where people are going to be at all times. The Warriors are the eighth spot right now because they haven't played together all that much. They've had so many injuries where people are in and out of the lineup. Their big guys, they went on like a stretch of 12 games where the big guys didn't even play. Their big was Draymond Green for 12 games, and they managed to win some of those games. Like I mentioned before, they need team chemistry to do well, and the more they play together, the better their team chemistry will be, the better their team will be. That's how Steve Kerr's offense works. Looking down the stretch of late, their offense looks so much better. The last couple of games, the last couple of weeks, they haven't lost a lot of games, and the ones they have lost, it's been very, very, very close. And also, when you have Steph Curry, it's really hard to count them out. Did you guys see the All-Star game? Him and Dan were just pulling from half court and nailing it from half court. So if they were down like a lot, he can just do that, bring him back in. And, he's going to will that team to number 6 spot. Go Warriors.
Nah, they're going to be like a 7th or 8th seed. And they're like the Blackhawks. They're like the Blackhawks. They're going to have to battle every game. The games they are winning, they're winning by like 2 points. They're not like blowing teams out. They're not dominating teams. Every game is going to be a battle for them. The luck is going to run out, and I don't really think they're that consistent of a team. I think Steph Curry has been more consistent, but it's kind of like what you said. There's a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, guys that are like, G League guys stepping up. I just don't think they're going to have the consistency, and I think they're going to struggle to be in that 8th spot. They are going to give – a battle. They probably will make the playoffs. They'll give a battle for that whoever team plays them. But I don't see them winning a playoff series, and I see them like in the 8th seed struggling to keep on to it.
I'm actually going to disagree with that.
in that saying not blowing out teams is an issue, because I think that the fact that they can win, 2-point, 3-point nights, and they're learning it now, they're getting ready for playoff. They're playing playoff basketball right now. So they're going to be ready for playoffs. They're more so than any other team, like your Lakers who just blow teams out, your Clippers who just blow teams. If I was a Clippers fan, I'd be fucking worried that they might play the Warriors in the playoff series. And I bet you that they would win.
Trading
who would win?
Are you saying
the Warriors over the Clippers any day, bud?
In a 7-game series?
Yeah, I do.
Let's bet $90,000. Actually, not that much, but
okay. If that happens,
50.
I do think you guys will have to make some sort of bet.
I couldn't legally.
You're actually allowed to do that, yeah. But I don't agree. I agree with Eric. I don't think that they can push into that top 6, and purely it's because they just cannot play consistent basketball. They've only won 3 games in a row once all season. They win 2, they drop 2. They win 1, they drop 1. They can't go on any sort of roll. And also, if you look at the teams ahead of them, I think they are where they are. I think the other 9 teams ahead of them, or 7 teams ahead of them, are much better basketball teams than they are. So I don't think the Warriors can get into that top 6. I do think Steph is a dark horse MVP candidate, just like Patrick Kane, though, with the season that Steph's having.
I don't even say dark horse. I think he's the favorite.
You think he's the favorite? That's interesting. Interesting.
So, okay, here's a question for this is actually going back to mine, Alex.
Yeah.
Kind of. The Warriors don't make the playoffs or Blackhawks don't make the playoffs. Are either of those two able to get an MVP award?
Fire everybody.
It's you have to play unbelievable basketball to win an MVP and not make the playoffs. So if they don't make the playoffs, and I think they'll be in that bottom 4 where they have to play that stupid play-in thing we talked about a couple weeks ago. If they magically get into then the top 8, maybe. But yeah, if they don't make it into that top 6, I don't think he can win it. I just think there's too much competition, but we'll have to see.
The biggest question is, does a non-playoff team worthy of an MVP? Like, does a player?
Yeah, I mean, there are cases where that's true. They'll never win though. Like it won't happen. That's just the way the NBA works. Okay, moving on. Eric, you also picked the Warriors. I don't know if you were. It sounds like you were pretty negative. Did you?
That's pretty much. Yeah, everything I said about everything I rebutted with James is kind of what I had.
It kind of worked
going
out
with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move past that.
So I want to be negative about it.
It's okay. I like that. I mean, I was with you. So, Ty, you had let's move over. I'm gonna make you pick one first. So we talked about the West already. So you picked the Washington Wizards. We were down on them pretty much all season. I'm gonna assume, as they're in the bottom part of the Eastern Conference, you think that they have a chance to make a run.
I do. This is a Wizards team that I think did have some level of expectations coming into this season, just because that Eastern Conference is not as strong, and there's just a lot of teams in that bottom part of the league, with these expanded playoffs that maybe they could possibly get there. And they're playing pretty. I think they're playing their best basketball going into this break that they have all season. They were 7-3 in their last 10 games, rolling into the All-Star break. Westbrook is playing a lot better. It kind of seemed like he was a little bit lost in that system. I think he's playing of the Russell Westbrook of old. Bradley Beal's a stud. I mean, he's a guy that goes out there every night and just absolutely balls. And like I said, I think their best case is that that bottom half of the Eastern Conference is not that strong. And I think that if they can put together some pieces here, I think that they can make a run. They're only 2.5 games out of that 10th spot, which gets them into one of those play-in games. So I think if there's any team that's going to come from the bottom up, it's going to be the Washington Wizards in the Eastern Conference.
Do you think Bradley Beal's production is sustainable? The dude's putting up 30-plus points a night, being the only real scoring option, because we all know that Brody he's inconsistent. The dude airballs free throws. Like, he's not a consistent point scorer anymore. He is athletic as shit, and he'll get you rebounds, he'll get you assists, but he does turn the ball over. pretty much the success of the Wizards lies on Bradley Beal. Is this production sustainable for the rest of the season?
It's going to have to be. I mean, if they're going to have a chance, he's going to have to be their guy. And I'm not saying that this Wizards team is going to come out and probably win a playoff game, but I think they definitely got a chance to sneak in there and be one of those bottom teams. But you're right. I mean, this team lacks a lot of depth. They're not playing very well at all. But I just see it as of late. I think they've been playing better. I think Westbrook has started to aid Beal a little bit more. I think he's been playing better. So if they can get consistent play both out of Westbrook and if Beal continues that level of production, I don't see why this Wizards team can't sneak in.
Okay, question for you, and this could be really quick. If they sneak in, which one of those bottom teams, Raptors, Bulls, Pacers, Hornets, fall out?
Well, I also think that the Bulls are in one of those spots right now. I'm not really sold on the Chicago Bulls. So I think the Chicago Bulls is going to be that team that's going to fall.
Okay. I can understand that. I don't think the Wizards are going to do what you think they are, but I can understand your take. Moving on, trade-in. Pick whichever one of your teams you want to go with.
Well, I kind of looked at it where I picked the Hornets of getting out of the bottom four of the playoff teams and making it to the bye. What do you call them? Bye? Let's call it a bye, right? Let's call it a bye.
Sure.
And I have no other reasoning besides they're just going to play basketball and throw spaghetti at the wall and fucking go for it. I mean, they're in that kind of position. I mean, those types of teams to me are dangerous because they're facing the same type of shit. They can't practice. They can't get teams together for the video. They're learning everything off the fly. And that's the kind of thing. And the coach is not making any crazy changes to make them push forward, but this is the kind of team that's just learning with what they have and learning their new system, their new players, all these, LaMelo Ball's playing like 29 minutes a game. He's playing a lot of minutes. That's good for those type of guys. And I just think that if it's those kind of teams that if they catch wind, they catch fire, they just kind of get going and upset some teams. And they don't really have anything to lose. So I only picked them because the other guys picked other teams that were probably better answers than mine. I picked them because I would love to see them, be that team that just upsets and pushes a team that probably is more deserving on paper to be in the top, the top six or whatever. And I'm just going to say that they're going to play flexible. They're just going to communicate with the team. They're going to come together and they're going to do some upsetting because that's the position they can be in.
This has nothing to do with the conversation. But I absolutely hate the Hornets floor with that gross ass green, purple ass shit. I hope they don't make the playoffs. So I don't have to look at it.
You say their court?
Yeah, the court.
Dude, the court's great.
No, it's disgusting. It's the worst. It's the worst thing to happen to basketball in years.
Is it worse than the Nets one, which is like gray and it makes you look like you're watching black and white?
That television? Too. It should be any wood floor should be the color of wood. It could be dark, light. I don't give a shit. You can do a little bit of trim of a color, but don't make the whole floor like whatever color. Like it's wood.
See,
make it wood.
The thing about this is that they did really great marketing because their floor evoked an emotion out of you, and now that emotion makes you relate to the Hornets, and now you think about the Hornets every single floor. Like,
I guess
see what happens? It's
there you go.
Marketing technique.
There you go.
I disagree.
And they're simply going to make the playoffs just to smite you now. And B, I forgot to say as another reasoning as to why they might do well is from what I hear from TLDR Podcast boys, the East kind of sucks. So that kind of helps.
That does help.
So the carpet matches the drapes.
So does their floor.
Okay, let's move forward. My team that I think is going to drop out of the top six, and this might be kind of a shocker, is the Boston Celtics. They did win 4 in a row coming into the All-Star break, but they have 2 players. Both of them are on my fantasy team, which is part of the reason why I'm killing it in that. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are killing it, but their depth is being tested. And when they play any of these other teams with elite big men, they're getting destroyed. They do not have enough help inside to defend any of these teams. I think that the other teams in this lower kind of tier of the Eastern Conference have a good chance of catching them. I was big on the Celtics early on, and I have almost no faith that they can go deep into the playoffs. If you guys have anything to say, let me hear it. If not, we're gonna keep going through our.
I'm just gonna eat my words because I was just saying like that they're on the downhill trend, and then they just beat the Clippers, and then went on a 4-game winning streak, of course. But I agree with you. Like I think they've shown to be a strong team the last few years, and I feel like their window's closing, and they don't seem as good. They are getting destroyed by teams with the big men that dominate the paint. So when you just get worked like that in the paint, you don't have what it takes to win in the playoffs.
I like that. Okay, moving on. We're gonna go through it again. So James, your second team was the Heat. Go ahead.
The Heat right now are in the sixth spot, I believe, after being not anywhere close the majority of the year. They're going to drop out, and I think they might not even make the playoffs. Actually, retract that. They'll make the playoffs because that play in the 10 seed kind of thing.
Yeah.
The theme of the year for them is underperformance. That's gone on all year long. They struggled out of the gate. They did not do well. In my opinion, I've said this before multiple times, but they've kind of rested on the success that they had last year in the bubble. They haven't they try to replicate it without changing anything, and it's just not working. Jimmy in the bubble looked MVP. He did so well. He had that one game against the Lakers where he had like 30, 15, and 15. Like he did well. And this year it's not consistent. It's just glimpses here and there. He needs to play like that every single day, which is unsustainable, Tyler, for that to happen. Right now, the team kind of relies more on the three-point shooting. They're playing more of a Warrior-style basketball where they just jack up threes, and they're relying on two young guys to do it. It's Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. They're good when they're hot, but oftentimes they're not, and they're shooting their team out of games. They're shying away from Bam and his athleticism, which kind of drove that success last season. Bam's a big man who's athletic. He's like a Blake Griffin V2 when Blake Griffin was in his prime, and they're not using him the way they should be. A lot of people are going to argue against me and say, hey, like going into the All-Star break, they're going on this massive win streak where they won a ton of games in a row, and so they have all this momentum. And I'm like, dude, like, cool. You hit the All-Star break. You haven't played basketball in a week. They're going to come back from the All-Star break, and they're going to be just as slow and undermotivated and lackadaisical as they did at the beginning of the year. And that's what's going to kick them out of playoffs or kick them to the 10th seed.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you on that one, James. I mean, this is a team that made the NBA Finals, and virtually the same core of guys is back with this team. And yeah, they did get off to a very, very slow start, and they have not been playing to the level that I think they should be. But I think this recent run has proven that, I think they're finally starting to click, and I think that they will be a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference when it's all said and done. I just think this team's too good. I think, they took a long time to get started. Had a lot of kind of bad luck and things kind of not go their way early on, but I think the tides are turning a little bit there in Miami, and I think that they're going to be a top 6 team.
I'm gonna have to agree.
Hold on. One thing I'm going to rebuttal that, but so the recent win streak that begs the question: is that a function of them getting better, or is it the function of teams are playing, getting tired and getting burnt out because it is going towards All-Star break? And we're playing for the 2021 NBA Finals here, the NBA Championship of 2021. Stop bringing up last year. Yeah, they're the same team, but if they haven't changed anything, they're not going to get any better. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. You're not getting it. Like, you can't rest on that same team and the same methods you did last season and expect the same results. The league is changing. Everybody's changing. Get better, or you're going to get left in the dust.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
They're not going to beat anyone in the playoffs.
But I mean, as terms of, them playing teams that maybe weren't out or whatever, I mean, everyone's playing the same game. Everyone's playing this weird COVID sprint that, and everyone's doing the same thing. So if you're winning in that, you're winning in that, and that should be good, whether or not you're playing teams that are, run down or not, you still got to win ball games. Everyone's playing in the same league. So it's not like, they're the Heat are, or any more well off than teams with this, kind of weird COVID season. So
They're playing in the same league, but they haven't played the same amount of games. So it's not, you can't compare the two.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, a lot of teams are going through that same stuff, and the stresses of the COVID season is what everyone's going through. And I think that the Heat early on definitely felt this thing and that pretty greatly.
Yeah, correct.
And it doesn't matter how you start, how you finish. And I think that they're playing super hot right now, and
it's not finishing. It's the middle of the season.
I understand that, but I'm saying that they're moving towards that. I think they're playing a lot better, and they're playing to the capabilities that I think most people had this Heat team making the postseason and definitely being a top 6 team. I still see them as a top 6 team.
To be fair, the Heat are 7-3 in their last 10, which means they have had a good 10-game split.
Yeah.
That said, I hope James is right, because I need the team for the Hornets to take over. So I hope you're right.
Hey, there you go, Traden. I actually agree with Tyler on this one. They have been incredibly inconsistent. They've been hurt a lot. They had a bunch of COVID problems. They're coming together as a team. I can see James's points. I can definitely understand that. But I think as this break is going to help them. They've been injured. They've been inconsistent. This gives them rest. Remember, the Lakers, the shortest offseason in NBA history. Now they get a little bit of a rest, and then they can push through for the final little bit. I'm not saying that they're a contender to make the finals again, but I do think they'll be in that top 6 in the East. Okay, moving on. That one got a little more heated than I was expecting. Eric, the Suns were your second team. What do you got on Phoenix?
I think they almost dropped to a 6th seed. Look, they're a tough team. They're a problem for other teams to play. I also don't think that their chemistry is quite there. I think they played some good games. They've got a little luck going too. They're currently 2nd in the West, I believe. I don't see them finishing off 2nd in the West. I think it might be tough for them to finish in the top 4. I think they've had a lot of things going well for them. And, I'm going to be the devil's advocate and say, like, it can only get worse from here. Like when we go golfing with Traden and he tells us that in the back 9. But, I think they go on a little losing streak to start off their games after the All-Star break. Everything's just been going too well for them this year. CP3 is a vet. He's the reason they're in that 2nd seed right now. I don't think he has what it takes to just keep it going all the rest of this season. Like kind of what James was saying with Beal, like CP3 has to be consistent every night for them to be in this 2nd seed for the second half of the season. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they drop to a 5th seed. But yeah, I mean, they are somewhat of a wagon team. Booker seems like he kind of has like a little switch that gets flipped every now and then. I've noticed that this year. He kind of snaps on some players, obviously on the other team, but what if this guy like snaps on one of his own teammates, snaps on a coach? Deandre Ayton, he's a good player. He seems like he's more like a about himself type of guy than the team. Come playoffs, what if he has a shitty night? He gets all mad. He seems like he worries about himself more than the team. I think their chemistry needs to build. I think CP3 is the biggest reason where they are now. But like, how much longer is that going to last for them? They're still going to be a tough team in the playoffs. I just don't think they stay in the 2nd seed. I think they drop to like a 4 or 5 seed, maybe a 6 seed. Who knows?
Interesting. Does anyone else have anything to say on the Suns before I jump in on that?
I agree with Eric. I mean, they're going to drop. They have a lot of cool things going for them on paper. But for a team that's won as much as they have, and the start like Chris Paul and D-Book, put them on the same team, theoretically should have results. I just don't see that playing out long term. And when you start to play against teams that have more experience than Chris Paul is the only kind of guy that has experience on that team. When you start to play against teams that have more experience and it gets down the stretch, it's going to hurt you.
Interesting. I actually disagree. I think the Suns, they started off and D-Book and Chris Paul were not really meshing very well. And D-Book is probably the best player that Chris Paul has played with that's not named James Harden. I think he's an elite scorer. I mean, he's dropped 70 before, so he's obviously he can shoot, he can get to the line. With Anthony Davis out with the Lakers, maybe they drop as a 3 seed. I think the Clippers obviously are going to play better basketball than they have been. I think the Suns are a dangerous threat. I mean, look at what Chris Paul did with the Thunder last year. He brought a team of nobodies to a 5 seed, and this year he's got a former number 1 overall pick in Deandre Ayton, Devin Booker. If they can shoot the basketball well from 3, I think the Suns have a good chance. I don't know if they're, championship material. I don't know if they can beat those LA teams or Utah in a 7-game series, but I still think they're going to be in that top 6. Moving on, Tyler. So we did the Wizards already. Now the Trailblazers.
Yeah, this one was a tough one. I think this Western Conference is so interesting, and it's so tightly packed. The reason I'm picking the Trailblazers to kind of follow that top 6 is mainly on the defensive side of the ball. They have the 29th ranked defense in the league right now, and that's got to be better when you're playing in this Western Conference. And it's honestly also more about the other teams that are behind them that I think are going to surge forward along with, the Trailblazers. Dame Lillard, we've talked about him a lot. I mean, this guy is an absolute stud, but I think everything runs through him. And in basketball, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think your star players need to be your stars. I just think depth-wise, I don't think the Trailblazers are quite as complete as some other teams in the Western Conference. I think Denver is playing a lot better. I think that they're going to sneak up there. I think Dallas is starting to heat up a little bit, so I think that they'll sneak into a top 6 position. And the Spurs and the Warriors are also in the mix there too. I think there's just so much depth in this Western Conference, and I think that defense is a problem. And I think it's gonna eventually knock them out of that top 6.
I agree with you, and I'll tell you my reasonings in a little bit when I get to my last team, because it kind of plays in with that. But I totally get what you're saying. CJ McCollum's still hurt. That doesn't help either. Yeah. As that second half, that dynamic backcourt for Portland. Unless boys, you have anything else to say on Tyler's Trailblazers take? Okay.
Nailed it.
Moving on. So trading, very last one, the Denver Nuggets. Go ahead.
Yeah. Again, this is one that I kind of just picked because everyone else picked the better ones, and I didn't want to be completely like everybody else. I'm only going to say the Nuggets because of their inconsistency. I mean, they haven't had a problem with getting the lead early. I mean, we actually seen that, I think, in the bubble, and I think when I covered them, they would win the first quarter or two, but they would completely give it up. And they do that still this season. To be fair, they are on a 4-game winning streak going into the All-Star break that, I'll give them that, but I just don't like the consistency. I think that they're lacking a third option, which is important. I mean, I you guys say it all the time. You need like 3 bigs, and I guess I kind of know what that means now. And they don't have that. In February, their rebounding dropped to 28th, so they're not hungry, or they're not playing, strong enough defense trying to get the ball. I just don't like their inconsistent swings. I know that they've been kind of injured, and that could also play into the fact that they might fall below. So I think that's it. I just don't like how they're not able to complete games at all times. I mean, they are winning games. They're obviously above 500. But I just don't know if they get too kind of volatile and too kind of streaky. I think that could let them fall. Also, to James's point, we need someone to take the 6th spot, and the Warriors need a spot. So the Nuggets, someone's got to fall.
Okay, I like that too. They have been incredibly inconsistent. Nikola Jokic has been an MVP candidate, but their second guy, Jamal Murray, after an incredible postseason in the bubble last year, helped lead that team to the Western Conference Finals, has been, I'd say, iffy at best. He'll drop 35 points and then the next night have 7. You're like, dude, what are you doing? They have had a lot of injuries. In the beginning of this season, I thought Michael Porter Jr. was going to be that third guy, and he's been hurt. He's had, I think he was out on the COVID list for a little bit. So That's part of it as well. And then so you're kind of both you and Tyler kind of nailed it with your last two, which helps me out because my last one is the San Antonio Spurs. First of all, we talk about it all the time. You can't count out Greg Popovich. He's the best coach in the NBA. I don't really think there's much of debate about that. And we talk about depth on this podcast all the time. And the Spurs have some of the best depth scoring in the league. You know, they have DeMar DeRozan, who is kind of an all-star snub, but they have 7 guys averaging double digits in points, which is unheard of in the NBA. You know, it's usually kind of 2 or 3 guys who average, you know, for good teams, average, you know, upwards of 20 plus points a game. And then the rest of the guys are somewhere in, you know, the 5 to 10 range. So I think the Spurs have a really good shot of overtaking both the Nuggets and the Trailblazers. You know, and if Steph can lead the Warriors up there, maybe that will happen too. I don't really think so, but I do think the Spurs have a good shot. That Western Conference, though, could change very quickly. You know, any of these teams, really any of the teams that aren't in the bottom like 4 right now could make the playoffs. So we'll have to see what happens. The trade deadline is coming up March 25th as well. So that could swing some things. We'll see guys get bought out by, you know, non-contending teams who are then, you know, just like Blake Griffin, who are then available to sign with contending teams. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Tyler, that's all I got for the NBA this week.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. That was a fun conversation. Always love talking basketball with you.